Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talking Logistics, where we have conversations with thought leaders and newsmakers in the supply chain logistics industry. It's my great pleasure to welcome to today's program, Andrea Gibson, who is Project Manager, Logistics Service Solutions at Carhartt. And today she's participating in the latest installment of Profiles in Yard Management Excellence, where we highlight companies that are driving innovation and continuous improvement in their yard management operations. So it's great to have Andrea with us today to kind of share her story and experience with yard management there at Carhartt, and to get some insights and advice. So, Andrea, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
So, Andrea, before we dive into the topic, I'm sure many people know, Carhartt and are familiar with, their products and apparel and all that. But just in case people are not that familiar, why don't you tell us a little bit about the company and your current role and responsibilities there?
Sure. Carhartt was established in 1889 and is today a global premium workwear brand. We make enduring apparel for hardworking people on and off the job. Headquartered in Dearborn, Michigan, with more than 5,000 associates worldwide, Carhartt is still family owned and managed by descendants of the company's founder, Hamilton Carhartt, today. As you mentioned, I'm Carhartt's project manager for Logistics Service Solutions. My team is primarily responsible for providing support to our domestic and international transportation teams, as well as to our customs compliance team. We work alongside IT and other cross-functional partners to evaluate, test, and implement systems like our transportation management system and our yard management system.
Great. So the company's been around for a long time, and I understand you and I were participated in a presentation at the CSCMP conference a couple of years ago. And if I remember correctly, it's a fast growing company, correct?
Oh, it is. It's growing a lot.
Yeah. So I think that's usually when you grow that quickly, that's when usually the need arises for, automation, the need arises for, kind of relooking at the way you manage current operations to see if there's a better way to do things.
Right.
And that's certainly the case with yard management. So to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yard management at Carhartt, particularly before you implement your current solution? What were some of the business challenges or opportunities that that led you to look for a solution?
Sure. So Carhartt currently ships all of our customer and consumer orders from a single CTPAT compliant facility in Western Kentucky. We have 2 drop lots adjacent to that facility and a couple of satellite yards that we use as well to help balance capacity. In a facility that operates pretty much around the clock during our peak shipping months, visibility to incoming and outgoing equipment is not just a critical need, it's a necessity. So not only did we need to be able to access up-to-the-minute information on where trailers were located from the time that they pulled through our gate, there was an increasing need to be able to track how long each piece of equipment was there, its condition, how many times that trailer was moved and by whom, as well as, what outbound modes are we assigning to those, before they ultimately leave the facility. We really needed a solution that was more effective than the manual yard checks and paper trail that we've been using up to that point, and just to support the volume of trailer movements that we were seeing. We also needed a better way to track information on the drivers that were passing through our gates for security purposes. So those were some of the challenges and opportunities that we were solving for.
Right. So it sounds like, previously you were really relying on, what I like to say, clipboards and paper and a lot of, maybe Excel spreadsheets, and things like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I assume we're kind of in the November time period here, right before Thanksgiving. I'm sure this is kind of the peak volume, or one of the peak volume times for your company, correct?
Yes, very busy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think so to achieve your objectives, right? Obviously, you want to move away from that kind of environment to be able to manage the volume and the scale that you were now experiencing. What were some of the key capabilities that you were looking for, in a solution that was part of the evaluation process?
Well, we were looking for a solution to provide the visibility that we needed to the inbound, outbound, as well as to the empty equipment. And although we're currently running our YMS as a standalone system, it was important that the solution that we selected be able to integrate with our TMS and our WMS systems. So those were some of the key things we were looking for.
So how does it work now? I mean, when it comes in, I mean, are you using RFID? I mean, how are you tracking the vehicles? How are you tracking the drivers? How does that work?
From the time that they check in at the gate, the trailers are tagged, and it is an RFID enabled system. And then from a yard check procedure, it is really enabled by our yard jockeys themselves when they're driving around the lot. It electronically locates where those trailers are, and that process also initiates the movements inside the trailers themselves. Inside the system itself, it initiates those.
So a lot of that data then is being captured and then being fed into the YMS. I mean, I think to your point earlier, you were looking at not only understanding, what equipment was moving and when and by whom, but also like the dwell time and how long that equipment there. That's all kind of, so part of it was kind of having the capability to analyze the data that you're getting, right?
Absolutely.
Great. So tell us a little bit about the evaluation process. I mean, who was involved? Did you look at many vendors? I mean, what were kind of the criteria that you're looking for? And then why did you ultimately select, Pink?
Sure. So we did send out a formal RFP when we were going through the YMS process, and our project team primarily consisted of logistics and IT personnel. We were evaluating appointment and scheduling functionality, guard check-in and check-out procedures, how the systems accounted for trailer movements for our physical yard as well as for our satellite yards. And, as we got those proposals back in and evaluated them, Pink's proposal, really met each of those needs, and we felt that they were best in class in each area that we were evaluating. And we were particularly impressed with their demonstrated commitment to reinvest back into their solutions to ensure that they remain relevant and to meet the changing needs of the industry. We feel like that's something that continually adds value and streamlines our processes ultimately.
That's a great point, because a lot of times whether you're looking for a TMS or a WMS or YMS, any kind of enterprise solution, a lot of companies focus on the here and now, like what they need today and what functionality they need today. But in reality, you also have to kind of look forward, right, in terms of what you may need down the road, or in terms of, to your point, what's the level of commitment in R&D and continuous improvement in the solution, because you know that your yard operations and how that interplays with your warehousing and transportation is going to be different a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road than it is today, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so very interesting. That was a key consideration as well. So how did you go about implementing this? Is this currently at kind of that one main facility? Do you have it at the satellite facilities also?
The solution is primarily concentrated at our physical location, but we manage satellite yards through that as well. But the equipment is not actually installed at the satellite locations. We manage that, from our central DC. As I mentioned, our first phase of implementation was standalone, and our project team, primarily consisted of logistics and IT. There were 6 of us on the project team altogether. A couple from IT, a couple from logistics services, myself included in that, as well as a couple of other subject matter experts that we pulled in from the logistics department. It really didn't take that long. We actually had it up and running in a couple of months.
Wow, that's great. That was going to be my question. How long did it take to implement? So, a couple of months. I think, what I find is when you're able to get a solution up and running relatively quickly, part of the prerequisite or the requirement is that you really have a good, strong project management team, in place to execute that. It sounds like you had that in place there.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So how long have you been, using the solution now, and what have been some of the, benefits you've achieved, and any unexpected benefits?
We have been on the solution a little more than a year now. And as soon as the YMS was turned on and put to use, we started achieving the goals that we were looking to achieve regarding improved visibility, increased driver efficiency, and we were also able to capture more information than we were in the beginning about the equipment that we were doing before. So I'd say we expected, but it was also unexpected, was the amount of reporting that we were capable of extracting from the system and put to good use. So that was a big win for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a classic saying, you don't know what you don't know, right? And a
Yes.
lot of times, and now you start capturing, this wealth of data, and you're able to see, you're able to gather insights that just weren't available or easily recognizable when you were still using clipboards or Excel spreadsheets, right?
Yes.
Great, great. So what's next for Carhartt? I mean, in terms of driving continuous improvement in your yard management operations, and how can technology help?
Well, there are a lot of exciting things happening at Carhartt. YMS is one of them. When the time is right, we would like to pursue integration of our YMS solution with our warehouse management system and our transportation management system. We feel like doing that would allow us to tap into more of the value that we can achieve from using the system. So that will be a next step for us at some point.
Great, great. So, Andrea, as a way to wrap up then, I mean, what words of advice or recommendations would you give to other companies that, are just starting, their journey on implementing a YMS and what would you have them think about as they're going through this journey?
Well, I would say that our experience with YMS has been very positive, and we have found that it does provide some really quick wins in terms of having up-to-date information on equipment availability and the status of that equipment. So to those who are just beginning to explore yard management or are building your business case for doing so, I would say that implementing a standalone system is such a short commitment of time to achieve those wins, and I would encourage those interested in implementing the solution, not to discount integration, include it in your scope of effort so that you can fully leverage the system and maximize your benefit, but at the same time, don't let that be what holds you back from getting started.
Yeah, no, great words of advice there. We're Andrea, we're out of time, and certainly appreciate you making the time to share with us your journey and your success story there at Carhartt with regards to yard management. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Great. I want to thank those of you that joined us. If you're watching this episode on demand, either at the Pink website or on Talking Logistics, and you've got a question or a comment for Andrea, you can post it there, and I'm sure that she'd be more than happy to respond via that medium. Again, thank you all for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in a future episode of Talking Logistics. Have a great day.